Hello everybody and welcome. This, as you already know, is NBL Overtime. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. There it is. Whatever social media you play in, let's do it. And the Kings are champions back to back in the Harbour City in front of the biggest crowds we'll ever see over 5 games. All because Homicide motivated. Hello, Corey. How you doing, brother?
Homicide and friends.
Yeah, that's true. And friends, Liam Santamaria. Hello to you, my man. How you doing? You good?
I'm good. Hey, all hail the Kings.
All hail the Kings.
Champions. They were the best team all year. They were on top of the table, and they were the best team when it mattered most. When the whole thing was on the line, the Kings came up trumps and they hoisted the trophy.
Now, I will say this. I am very surprised we're doing the show today, mainly because this time last week I said it will be close 5 minutes ago. Walton Jr. and Cooks will take over and the Kings will go back to back.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. They're calling me Camera Jarmus, but we'll leave that for the time being. What did you make of it, man? Because it was a hell. Regardless of which way you look at it, unfortunately the Breakers right now are hurting. Yeah. But it was a hell of a series which could have gone either way.
It was a fantastic series. I mean, the crowds were up. You know, history was made in that regard. Players left it all out on the line. When it mattered most, the big-time players stepped up, but none bigger than Angus Glover. I'm sure we'll get into that.
We will.
And I'll wait for us to get into that. But shout out to the Kings. They got it done in front of their home crowd. And that's why you fight all year for home court advantage. If that game is on the road, New Zealand wins.
We'll get to Glover in a moment. We'll talk a little bit about New Zealand in the last quarter, but let's talk about Derek Walton Jr. because I have been under the belief all year, and I've said it many times on this show. Yeah. It feels like he's coasting, which feels like I'm diminishing how good he has been, NBL All First Team, but I always felt he had a gear or two to go to. Well, you know when he needed that gear? In the last 5 or 6 minutes of a grand final, Game 5, and boy, oh boy, did he find it.
Yeah, no, he did. And earlier than that as well. I said pre-game. Listen, and we said last week, that if they have a whole bunch of guys that are good, but Derek Walton is great, they're going to win this championship. And at crucial times. Now, of course, these are the clips in the fourth quarter. Game-sealing, game-winning buckets. He was massive in these moments. Getting to the rim, the pull-ups. Like, that's all kinds of clutch in a massive moment. 4-point game with a minute to go. Deserving Larry Sangstock trophy recipient. Other guys had great series. So Justin Simon, Angus Glover, no doubt about it. But Derek Walton Jr. was enormous. And when they got down double digits and they were down 12 in that second quarter, it was Walton Jr. who was the engine behind the comeback 1-point game at halftime. I was wrong. I thought the Breakers were going to win the series as a whole. It went right down to the wire and the Kings showed their championship credentials and Walton Jr. was the man who drove that ship.
I mean, we said it all year. The fact that you replace an MVP, Jalen Adams, and we don't even bring his name up at all. But in situations like this, that's full credit to how Derek Walton Jr. Went about his business all season. And to top it off as grand final championship MVP is fantastic. It was never under pressure. He never looked like he was out of sorts all season. You know, and as you said, it looked like he had another gear or two to go. Started out this series, got injured game 1.
Yep.
Played through it as champions do, and came up huge in that fourth. Those might look like easy shots, but you really can tell the type of player an individual is in that fourth quarter when it's all on the line, and he showed up big.
And the while we're given all the credit that's deserved to the Kings, to the organisation, because to set 2 records in a row in Game 3 and Game 5 for the crowd is a massive credit to the whole organisation, and especially that Game 5 crowd. 18,100 something. They could start selling it after it was established that there was going to be a Game 5. A really small turnaround on a Wednesday night, enormous result for them. But also the heart of that team, the courage and the guts of that team. I called the Game 2 win the gutsiest win I've ever seen in the NBL. So there's that. And then they were up against it in Game 5. Down 10 early, down 12 in the second quarter. And then Xavier Cook's 4 fouls. He sits out the start of the fourth. All of a sudden, New Zealand's up 7. Now, to go from there, 7 down to 7 up without your opponent scoring in the fourth quarter of a game 5 showed... Now, the guys on the floor, but just as in a general sense, huge credit to the team for the guts and the heart that they showed in those moments.
There are moments in games, and big games, where whoever you're at the game with, you give a little nudge and you just raise an eyebrow to say, hey, this is a major moment. And look, it's not rare to see it once a game. It's not all that rare to see it twice a game. But to see it 3 games in a one particular 40-minute contest, as we do in the NBL, and one of them was with 7 minutes to go in the season, proves how they believe in the system and they believe in each other. We're going to get to Angus Glover and you're about to let loose in a split second, but there was guys who continually stand up. And we talk about Jalen Adams. He didn't even play in the deciding game 12 months ago. Ian Clark stood up, but as a committee, their ability to do it and the faith that Chase Buford has in them and they have in each other gives them opportunities, and then their stars can take over. But very rarely do you give a little nudge and go, here we go, hang on a second. And there was 3 of them last Wednesday night that in the end proved for nothing because they got the job done. Let's let loose because they're now calling him, you may not be aware of this.
I'm not.
They're now calling him Angus Dermot Burden Glover. I believe you've started a nickname.
Oh, well.
Busted ribs if you're not an AFL guy. 89 grand final, busted a rib first 10 seconds of the grand final and come out and was unbelievable. Just like our man Angus Glover last week. He was huge.
Angus Glover subs into the game.
Let's play this.
Shoots this, grabs the rebound off the side. It hit the side
Look at the score.
of the backboard.
Yeah.
7 down.
Gets the rebound.
Grabs his
Goes
rib.
in for a dunk. Then hits this 3, brings it to 2.
He can't
points.
move.
Angus Glover, this reminds me of, he's a hero. For me, Angus Glover's a hero. There's 2 plays that come to mind, all right, when I see this whole situation with Angus Glover. The first one is Willis Reed.
Yeah.
Suiting up for the Knicks, coming out.
Yep.
That propelled that team to believe that much more. They go on and win the championship.
Yeah.
Paul Pierce, when he got wheeled off against the Lakers, he got wheeled off in a wheelchair, comes back and gets the win.
Yeah,
and they go on to win the championship against Kobe and the Lakers. That's how I look at Angus Glover now, like a hero, those type of plays. He don't hit those shots. Momentum was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was because of him in those 2 plays that momentum swings back, 7 down, then it goes en route to 7 up. It was incredible. I hope he gets a max deal and a long-term contract. I mean, look, man.
Max.
Man,
What
I
is the
really
best?
hope.
Do we have a max in the
I don't
NBL?
know, but I just think
Bryce Cotton money.
I just think the value that he added. I mean, he don't do that. You don't win.
No, you're
And
right.
you don't win.
No, and just
You
quickly.
don't win.
2 things. Firstly, had a hell of a series.
Hell of a series.
Yeah,
Not just the moments
Yo,
in the fourth
pay that
quarter.
man, yo. Pay that man.
The reason I was laughing just then when we looked at the footage, the Sydney Kings extremely intelligent on the court, maybe not off it. Because in that timeout, they're all banging him on the chest. You the man, yes, the dude's got busted ribs. Just let him sit and take a big deep
Yo.
breath.
Yeah, but hey, how's the call from Chase Buford, though? In that moment, down 7, 6 minutes to go.
You got to get back in. We need you, Angus.
Hunched
Shout out.
over. It looks like the hunchback of Notre Dame because he's struggling to breathe.
Dude.
And he says, you know what? I think you're the guy to come in and get us back in this game. And those 2 plays were the start of that 14-0 run, which was the start of the 18-3 run that closed out the season and won them the championship. Angus Glover goes down now in legend kind of status
100%.
as far as that grand final went.
100%.
Move over Michael Jordan's
And
flute
shout
game.
out-
We got a Glover rib game.
Shout out to Chase Buford.
Yes.
2 for 2. What you have come over here and done is remarkable. The odds of that happening in a league like this, it's never happened before. You can do it once. Back to back? I don't care about your antics. That's just the USA in you, so whatever, right? I don't care about what you say in post games because it's fun and entertaining to me, but you have delivered. Winning forgives all sins. You are the youngest to ever do it. Salute in whatever you got going on after here. Like, there's no way he's going to be. I don't believe there is no way he's going to be here next year. He's
go.
proven everything.
There goes a yes or no.
He's proven everything. What else can you do?
He just wins.
That's all he does. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. What's my man? What's the GM name? What's my man name?
Chris Pongrass.
Yo, Chris Pongrass.
Chris Pongrass. Hey, hold.
Now. Hold on. They can't lose both. I'm more than sure you'll still be here. And that might be by choice. Like the job you have done since you've been here. And on top of winning, you're sending guys to the league.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like, yo, the Kings, that's the team.
For real.
That is the team.
Yeah.
You want to get to the league? Come to us.
I was going to say, hold your compliments for Chris
Straight
Pongrass because let's get him on the show next week. Getting into free agency, let's get
that's a good call.
the GM on the show because they have done an amazing job and he had really that franchise. Now, I was a bit concerned last week after Game 3, New Zealand's inability to score for a long period of time when they had to score. And unfortunately, in moments, not just in the fourth quarter Wednesday, they had to score and they had their troubles, Liam.
Yeah, and you look, some of that you credit to the Kings. They ramp up their defense in key moments. That's a tough shot. The side contest there from Justin
Glover guarding them.
and you know, the good contest there from Xavier Cooks late in the shot. Like, the Kings make that tough. Everyone talks about their scoring droughts. That's tough D.
Great D.
From Tim Suarez. So they ramp up their D, but you're right. They had a wide open shot from Isaiah Le'afa in the second quarter to go up 15. Now, he hits that. Oh boy, that's a different sort of kettle of fish. Misses, it's a 1-point game at halftime. 7 points up, 5 points up, and with about 5 minutes to go, Brantley has the little jump hook in the lane. He makes that, calms everybody's nerves. Maybe they close that thing out and they hoist the trophy. That's how close it was.
Absolutely.
So they would be feeling really hollow, the Breakers. Congratulations to them on the amazing season that they had. But I would imagine they would feel like that championship slipped through their fingers.
This is why we love sport. Like, legitimately, this is the reason why we, who are privileged enough to work in it and are huge fans of the game, love sport, because New Zealand right now are hurting. Absolutely. Incredibly proud of their season. They should be. They were outstanding all year. They had the little wrinkle of COVID, ironically considering how hard it made the previous 2 years, in the middle of the year, had to pick themselves up off the floor. And literally, they're 4 minutes away from winning the NBL championship. There is such a difference between delirium and heartbreak. Yeah. And hopefully, and we'll talk a little more about New Zealand in the next couple of weeks about what they do with the roster, but hopefully it motivates them to come back bigger and better next year because they were brilliant, Corey.
They were. Salute to them. Question. Coach Mayor, he should probably be a free agent right now, right? What did he do? What did he do? His contract can't be no longer than 3 years. He did 2 as an assistant. And he did this one.
But he got extended as a head coach.
Did he?
Didn't he?
Is that done?
I don't know.
I mean, he's going to be.
Yeah, I thought it was done. My apologies. I actually thought it was
I think he'll be back with... Do you think he'll be back with the Breakers next season?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hear anything.
Do you want to play for him?
I would definitely... There's a bunch of coaches in this league I love to play for. I'd love to play for him.
Is there any...
Cans, Adam Ford.
Did you see the Jarrell Brantley comments in the...
Yeah, I
cool.
saw the post game.
That was cool.
Really cool.
My question also is, though, like, you would have never gotten this opportunity, right? The whole world, because, you know, this is a world-class league, has watched what you've done. How many other opportunities in the world he would have right now knocking on his door?
Yeah, I agreed, but what we say this about players, right? We say this is a great league to propel yourself, and we use it as the NBA, right? Traditionally. This is also a great league as a coach to propel yourself to start. Now, I'm not saying there's not bigger pay packets that may be available to him right now, but...
It's time to get a bag.
Yeah, but he's only been here for 1 year, right?
No, he's been here for 3.
Well, he's only been one as the head coach.
He's been here for 3.
There is probably a slight little wrinkle there, but I legitimately think that I think he'll certainly be here, and I think he'll continue to do an incredible job, and he'll continue to have more offers, bigger and better in 12, 24, 36, 48. I'm not good at maths, so I don't know what 5 times 12 is, but I think there's no doubt that staying here with this crew is the best place for him right now.
How are you so sure?
Because I just seen what he did on the back of only having a short turnaround on the back of a rough 2 years.
Let me ask you this question.
A big bag got to come his way, B.
Well, New Zealand can give him the big bag.
Speaking of big
just
bags.
like Scott. What's my man?
Scott Roth.
Scott Roth?
No doubt. Hey, Absolutely.
You got to pay the man.
Hey, speaking of paying the man.
They're getting paid, right?
And making the decision whether or not to stay in New Zealand or go elsewhere. Let's talk about Will McDowell. White.
Can we
talk about Will
Let's go
McDowell
to a
White?
break first and
Yo, man,
reset.
that
Can I
check
also
gotta
just
be
point out
huge.
that NBL coaches, whilst I understand the money in Europe, they're not volunteers. They're getting paid quite well in this country, right?
I'm just saying that he was really an assistant, just
that's
got this
fair.
opportunity. So as an assistant coming in, he's on that deal.
know, Matt
He
Walsh,
can't
right?
be. He can't be. Matt Walsh, he must be. We're going to
gotta pay everybody.
Yeah, well.
No, that's the price of winning, though. That's the price of winning.
Quick break. Plenty more NBL overtime next.
One man who's going to have to pull out his best is Xavier Cooks, who has been riddled with injury.
He's going to bring it because this is his last game in Australia.
The ball in the hands of the competition's MVP. Head down to the cup. Cooks drives. Unstoppable in that situation. Brantley for pardon. Xavier Cooks. Big time play. Cooks still fighting for it. That is as loud, as a roar, as I've ever heard.
Signed a multi-year contract on Friday after leading the Sydney Kings to their second straight NBL title.
That's a hell of a week. NBL Championship back-to-back in front of just under 19,000 people. Then jumps on a plane, heads to Washington, and Xavier Cooks kickstarts his NBA career in the nation's capital as a Wizard. I don't know how many things we can say. We've spoken a great deal about Xavier Cooks and how great he is, but that's as good a 5 days you can have.
You know, outside of that, he stepped up when it was necessary. Their lives were on the line, and I posed the question, if you're Xavier Cooks, what do you do? Do you focus on the future, or will he give 200%? And he did exactly that in Game 5. Came up huge, 23 points.
Huge.
The coolest thing about this whole thing is just that graphic when he's checking into the game where they show his stats. So if you don't know Xavier Cooks, first of all, you know he's played in one of the best leagues in the world outside the NBA. For me, the best league, right? Outside of the NBA. And his stats, as far as the accolades, is what I'm considering on that screen. And that's huge. He's had an incredible year, but incredible 2 seasons. And he's leaving NBL with legendary status.
Oh, sure is. I mean, what he achieved in this year, in this league, in the period of time that he was here, is truly remarkable. And it's I really feel great watching him there at the Washington Wizards achieving his dream. You talk about the NBL, NBA pathway, and everybody does it a bit differently. We get these next stars, they come in, they rock out, they go to the draft. Jock Landale comes in, 1 season, grand final MVP, champion, he's straight to the league. But Xavier Cooks has taken a very different kind of path. And the injuries, but also when he first started lacing them up for the Sydney Kings, he wasn't an NBA player. So he's developed his game over the last couple of seasons there with the Sydney Kings to the point now where, he's got that multi-year contract at Washington. So it's a cool story. A lot of people feel great about it, but huge congratulations to him.
I think, and we've spoken a lot about this, and you two in particular, but that point you made about him not being an NBA player and now becoming one is the reason the NBL has got the eyeballs around the world on them, because, when you're a next star, LaMelo Ball or Warwick Kitty, Josh Kitty, the fact is that, the potential's there. Can they grow into something? You've still got to be able to do it. Jashawn Tate, ironically, Sydney Kings, Xavier Cooks, right on the cusp, very talented players, but a little bit older that haven't been able to break in.
Yeah.
Come here, do their thing. Next thing you know, they're doing their thing in the NBA. So you're right, different ways to go about it. But the fact is that they're on the cusp and use the NBL to springboard it, play in grand finals, and achieve their dreams.
What a week for
It's
that.
a week. Now, talking about a guy who's been in the NBA or hasn't, Jarrell Brantley has been there before, rolls on here. You talked this into existence. In fact, you might have manifested it for him because you said he has played himself back into the NBA, and you were right.
Well, if the whole league, if there's, at one point there were 20 executives over here.
Right.
Different levels of execs, but point is, they were in the building when both looking at the couple of people, right?
Yeah, right.
You're looking at a next star, you're looking at Xavier Cooks, and his direct matchup was in the league and is playing against Xavier Cooks.
Yeah.
And you outplay him in the way that he did and wins the game. There is no way they're not going to look at you. He had a hell of a run while those scouts were there. Balling and high octane at the right time. And well-deserved.
he's got an NBA body as well, which gives him a
Well-deserved.
real head up. You know what you just essentially made me think about? I hadn't crossed this my mind before. You know the most important person in the NBL right now is?
Who's that?
You know, it's you. Because if you're able to continually, as the GM of Next Stars, get these incredibly, insanely talented kids from around the world to come here, NBA scouts roll on here. Next thing you know who pops up? Brantley, Will McDowell White, which we'll get to in a moment, Xavier Cook. So it's on you, man.
Larry's the most. Larry.
All right, okay, you got me on a technicality, but there you go. The most important non-owner of the league is Liam Santamaria. Let's talk Will McDowell White. Hell of a season, and again, you started this. Well, he started it on your podcast in the pre-season when he said, I want to become the best point guard, Australian point guard in the league. He had a hell of a year, he had a hell of a grand final series, and now there's a two-parter. Where does he go if he stays in the NBL, and does he stay in the NBL? Because this kid is only 24, and I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah. No, you're bang on. I was driving the hype train in a big way in the pre-season. Knew he was going to come in and have a massive year. He was the breakout star of the competition. Now, Keanu Pinder won Most Improved, no doubt, but geez, Will McDowell White, and we spoke about the excitement about seeing what he could do in the postseason, and he had some huge performances. It still comes and goes a little bit. First quarter, he was unstoppable, and then his influence at different times throughout different games, it sort of went away a little bit. Kind of like what we see with Luke Travers a little bit, where you're like, hey, could we see that for a full 40 minutes? Game in, game out. That's the next evolution for him in his game. He's taken some huge leaps already, but that's the next one. But you're right, free agency. The offers are going to come big time from all over the league. Modi Mayor's saying, hey, listen, working with me is a beautiful thing. And then looks around the world. I'd like to see him back at Summer League. We saw him there 2019 and he was a bit banged up. He wasn't quite able to do his thing. He's got the kind of game that can go to the next level.
Summer League will be interesting because I think it feels to me like he deserves an opportunity and probably gets one or two, but it has to be the right opportunity because we seen it with Casper Ware. Goes to, I think it was Portland, and just sits at the end of the bench with like 15 guards on the team. So it would have to be the right opportunity for him to go over and showcase, which hopefully he does get. We're going to squeeze a break in. Yes or no? I'm going to change some questions because you already broke the Chase Buford one. Plenty more next.
Glover, great attack to become. Had to change the shot. Oh! Never quite as sure on the offensive end. Glover. Oh, that's a nail. Banged it down to Glover. Glover. Oh, it's going down for the Sydney Kings. It's pass, Walton Jr for Glover. Feet set. Come on, man. Glover, another three. Bangs down a big one. Here he is for three. Huge.
2K player, spotlight player of the month is Angus Glover. Of course, a two-timer now as well. Outstanding grand final series. And as you did touch on, a great bloke. Just a great guy. Great guy, deserves all the happiness and cash that comes his way as you continue.
Get that man to max.
I had to change yes or no on the fly because Homicide already answered one of the questions. All right. But I'll ask you anyway. Chase Buford in the league next year?
Nope.
All right. Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, the most interesting team into the off-season?
No.
Do you think Luke Travers will be a Wildcat next year?
Yep.
Hey, with the NBL, if they lifted the foul limit to 6 per game, would it help the game?
No.
Should a team have a huge crack at Finn Delaney?
Yep.
Will the game series record, 5-game series record, ever be broken?
Crowd?
Yes.
Yes.
Barry Brown Jr. be in the NBL next year?
Yep.
At New Zealand?
Nope.
Will Weaver be back in the NBL next year?
Maybe. We still doing maybe?
Well, I don't know. I just sort of added a couple in. I think that Will Weaver and...
You don't think Luke Travers will be in Perth?
I think there are a couple of teams having a real crack at him. I think he will probably be in Perth, but I don't think it's as rock solid as it might have been, a year or two ago.
Okay.
Yeah, he might be somewhere else as well, outside of Australia, which would suck for us. We're going to be back next week. Free agency is just firing up. And Chris Pongras, this is your official invitation. See you next week.